Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Rehab Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Zephyr, and today we're actually going to take a step away from biomechanics for this episode. We're going to talk a little bit more about social media and business because I keep on getting people asking me to do an episode about kind of some of the things that I've been doing with social media and just trying to understand how to start posting, especially if you've never started or if you are posting and just want some tips. And so I thought I would talk a little bit about social media. And to be clear, I don't have anything figured out. It's constantly changing and constantly trying to adapt in my format and everything. But I thought I would just talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm doing, maybe just to help you with whatever goal you have with social media. So let me take a quick step back. When I started posting on social media, I hated it. And probably a lot of you will kind of feel that same sentiment. I really didn't like it. My social media was posting random things. I don't even know if it's still there. Maybe if you scroll to the very beginning, it's a bunch of random stuff. And it was just friends and family that were really following me and nothing else. But I was connecting with some people in the industry and I was using it as my own form of education and just connecting and networking with people from around the world. So that was very cool in that aspect. And when I started posting, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of seeing what other people were doing and just trying to emulate it or trying to create things that I thought could be valuable for whoever is out there, fitness and rehabilitation professionals, and even just everyday people who just want to understand their body. And so over the years, I tried so many different strategies, posting multiple times a day. When Reels became a thing, I was very resistant. I really didn't like Reels. I liked the carousel and the quote in the written format. The Reels were very daunting, and I still feel like they're a little bit daunting now, but I feel like maybe I've got a little bit more of the hang of it in terms of being in front of the camera. I really didn't like being in front of the camera. I still don't. I mean, my wife will always complain about me not taking enough photos of us because I just don't like taking photos. It seems maybe a little bit surprising, but that's the fact. I'm just not I'm just not a person who likes to be in front of the camera, which is pretty funny to say because that's kind of what my business is on, is being in front of a camera. So when I started to understand, when I started to think about it, one of the main questions that I was always trying to battle with myself was, what am I good at? Because there's people out there who are the foot person or the shoulder person or the spine person. And I felt like I knew a lot about a lot of things. And so I didn't really want to pigeonhole myself into the one things. And so that's really when I asked a lot of people who've been working with me for a while and people in my Vault membership about what they thought I was good at and thought some of the things that maybe I could focus on and really start to talk about more. And one of the main things they said was my assessment process. They really enjoyed my assessment process, and I was very good at being able to look at somebody and understand kind of where they're limited and the exercises to do, almost like one person called me like a machine when it came to that. This is not meant to talk about myself. This is just meant to kind of get to where I'm doing now, what I'm doing now. And what I had to take a step back and ask myself what I'm good at, because I felt like I was just talking about a lot of things and my message wasn't really clear. Like if you went onto my page 2 years ago, you'd be like, what is this guy about? I don't really understand what he's about. And so that's when I really took a step back, and my wife really helped me kind of ground myself and ask these tough questions about what am I trying to convey? What message am I trying to convey? And what am I good at? What could I share that I feel like I'm good at to help everybody else who is limited maybe in that aspect? And so that's kind of when I started to, when I asked these people, they said assessment and programming or exercise selection. And so that's what I really started to go on. I really started to focus on assessment and programming. So the whole point of that side note story was if you're posting, you really have to understand what you're good at, what you feel confident with, and share that process with people. So this is why about a year ago, I started doing a lot of these posts when people are looking at a squat or a calf raise, and I'm asking my audience, right versus left, what do you see? Which hip is shifting? Which hip is missing motion? Which shoulder is missing motion? And just starting to do those things and then doing breakdowns. Because what you really want to do on social media is showcase what your strength is. And one of the things that I found that a lot of people struggled on in this industry is the ability to assess where to look, what to do, where to start. And so that's really what I kind of changed my focus on what my social media posting was going to be. That's when I really started to change how I was posting. And that's actually when I started to see growth in my following. And that's the big thing. Like, I didn't really care about my growth, right? You could have 1 million followers with 100 likes on your post, which means that not everyone is seeing your stuff and nobody cares. I would rather have 100 people with 100 people looking at my stuff, right? So the intention never is to grow my following, but my intention is always to provide as much value as possible. So that is all my posting. My posting is focusing on my strengths, trying to share that, trying to convey that in a simple way, which is a constant struggle. I try constantly to bring the level down because I know it can be very complex. And then just share as much value as I possibly can. It's why I started YouTube. It's why I started doing this podcast, because Instagram only has a short window of what we're able to convey in terms of posting and how long we have, how long people are interested in. So what I will typically do is I will try to post 3 to 4 reels, maybe even 5 reels a week, just because I feel like the video format really gets you to understand what your teaching style is and trying to, it's like you're talking to somebody, right? If it's just carousels or just posts, you don't really get to create that relationship with somebody. And so that's why I think that more reels are better, but I also think that the carousels, so I try to do like 1 to 2 carousels a week, which is just, if you take a look at my Instagram page, you'll see that, there's some posts that I have like the ultimate guide to assessing the squat or the shoulder or the split squat, or maybe it looks like a bunch of tweets back to back. So those kind of carousel things, because really what the carousels do is they're more for your current audience, whereas reels get pushed everywhere else. So the carousels are really good for just creating more value for your following, for the people who have chosen to follow you. And that's kind of how I think about it, is that these people have chosen to follow me and have chosen to or have found value in some way. And so I'm always trying to bring value to them, because I've only grown organically. I've never paid for anything to get more followers. It's only been organic. And I did that because I wanted to have people follow me because they were curious about what I was talking about and it was helpful for them. I never wanted to get people who just a post going viral and they followed me for 1 second because of that one post and they leave. I don't care about viral content. I care that the people in my following get the value. And so creating reels is one form of value, creating carousels is another, and then sometimes doing a single post, like just one picture. I don't do that often, to be fair. I usually focus more on reels and the carousels because again, like the reels show your teaching ability. Carousels show more information in a digestible way that they're able to just take their time and read. So it's just 2 different ways of producing or 2 different ways of sharing a message. So I have found that posting multiple times a day maybe works for some. I don't find it as effective. I don't find that it helps more. It just takes a lot more time in order to create that content. I find just posting once a day, you can play around with what time In terms of my analytics, it says 9 a.m. is a really good time to post. That's when a lot of my audience is on. And because I have a lot of following from North America, Europe, Australia, the morning is great because it allows them, depending on their time, depending on the time difference. Some people it's nighttime, some people it's afternoon, some people it's morning. It's a great time versus if I were to post it at 4 p.m., for example, people are sleeping. And people in North America are checked out because they're done work for the day. So again, playing around the timing is important. But the most important thing that you can do is just post about what you are good at. And one of the main ways that I get my content is just from client interactions, them asking me questions, me doing something with them, me explaining something to them so they understand it's great content. I have this one client in particular. She knows who it is because she's probably listening to this, but she asks me questions all the time because she's curious and she's an equestrian. So she takes this and she applies it to her clients as well. And it's amazing because it gives me unlimited amount of content. So I'm forever grateful for her for the content. But just taking all of these inputs and creating content. I mean, it's difficult. Some days you'll get 1 like, you'll get 2 likes, you just get a few people looking at it, but like persevere, endure, it doesn't matter. The fact is it's just about compounding. I've been doing this for 5 years. The people that you see who have hundreds of thousands of followers, they've been doing it maybe longer. Some people may say they have the formula, but it's about compounding and creating the most value. If you create the most value possible within the constraints of the algorithm, maybe it's 30 seconds 1 month, maybe it's 60 seconds the next, maybe it's 45 seconds. I personally have found that anywhere from 20 to 45 seconds is kind of that sweet spot because it's not too long, it's not too short. It used to be that 7 seconds was a big deal, but not anymore. So again, creating as much value as possible, trying to post every day if you can. The other key thing that is the other key thing I want to share with the stories are something I didn't talk about. If you let your story expire, so don't post a story on Monday and then if Mondays didn't expire, you post your next one won't get a lot of views. You won't actually get to your audience. I don't know why it works that way, but if you let it expire and then you post your next one, a lot more people are going to see it. Again, my objective is for my followers to see because they followed me for a reason. I want them to continue to get value. If for some reason the algorithm is restricting, that people don't see it, then they don't actually get to see it. And so my social media strategy is just post every single day, post 1 or 2 stories a day, try to create as much content as possible. The more comments you get, the more your people will see it. And because Instagram is about engagement, it's about a community. And so you have to instill this community. And it's something that I've really been focusing on a lot in the last few years is engaging with as many people as possible. I answer, I would say 99% of the DMs that come my way. Doesn't matter how many followers I have. The intention of this is to provide value. It's why I create the products that I do, because they're based on questions that people commonly have. And it's just an easier way to answer those questions on a grand scale, right? Because if one person has that question, many people have the question. So what I would encourage you to do is post every day. You can mix it up, reels, posts, carousels. I would ask my audience what they want to hear about, because that's how you know what your followers want. You don't want to guess. You don't want to do based on what you think is right? You want to do what's best for them. And what I did early on when I had very small amount of followers is every time I got a like, I would message every single person and ask them what they liked about it, what they want to see more of, right? Especially when I was getting like 2 likes and 5 likes and 15, even 20 likes. Constantly do that so that I understood what my followers were there for and what they wanted. And that has guided me ever since, and I still do that to this day. So I hope this helped a little bit. It's very different than biomechanics. It's more about posting and business and stuff like that. But I thought this may help because I do get a lot of questions about how to start, how to post. And so again, just trying to create another resource for you. Hopefully this helps. If you have any more questions, comment below. And I can always do more episodes like this if you'd like. So if you'd like more episodes like this, you want me to cover different things, comment below, ask your questions, and I will be sure to make an episode out of it. Thank you so much for listening. Keep moving, and I will see you next time.